you before.
We haven't.
And I missed some of the hearings, but what you said today, tell us about your perspective on all this. Do you think this sentence is just based on Spencer's involvement in all this?
Well, based on his involvement in, you could say, the charges that were today, I do believe it was definitely just. He'll be in prison for quite a while, and it'll give him a good solid amount of time to think and hopefully to change and feel remorse for what he has done.
What did he do to you?
Well, to me, he kidnapped me. He held a gun to me. He threatened me. He hit me. And he demanded me to do robberies and to do different things that were against my will at the time. And, I was scared that day, and I was young. I was involved in some things in my life that weren't appropriate and weren't right to society, but I have changed now.
Could Spencer have stopped what happened to JoJo?
Spencer could have definitely stopped that. He had every capability to stop it that day, and he didn't. And that shows to me that he had an active role in this part, in this kidnapping and this murder.
Why do you think he could have stopped? Inside you shared something that we, of course, couldn't get on camera, but what significant action took place that you know he could have called for help at that point?
Well, at one point, Spencer Cater had to check in at school because he wasn't going to make it that night due to the fact that he was involved in this kidnapping. And when he went to that school, he could have stopped somebody, called somebody, or told somebody what was happening. But no, Spencer came back to the car and continued in this kidnapping. And then shortly after that, the murder of JoJo did happen.
Can you talk a little bit about how this has inspired you to turn your life around? I know in the early days of this trial, you were on the stand and talked about being a drug dealer, being involved in this world. And what are you doing now, and how has this shaped the choices you're now making?
I'd love to answer that question. I was a bad man. I was a drug dealer. I made a lot of bad decisions. And in the first year in jail, I was angry. And I had a lot of anger, and I didn't want to forgive these people. But my last year in jail, I was in solitary confinement for 13 months. And in that time of solitary, I read many books and found out who I was and gained a lot of wisdom. And also, you could say I found God, and I'm now an active member of the LDS Church. And with this new change, I found out some talents I have as far as being a writer and being a person who is willing to help, and a soft-hearted individual, not a hard-hearted thug you could say I used to think I was. I now delight to help people and delight to show people that there is a light within the tunnel, and you need to find that light and push forward and find out who you are, no matter how tough the circumstances are. And it's my goal now to share that message with anybody I can and show them that no matter who you used to be, you can change. And there's a way to do that, and I'm a person who did that.
Are you planning on staying here in Salt Lake City? Admittedly, in the street world, you're seen as maybe a snitch, and are you worried at all about that?
Yeah, I am not worried about that at all. Fear is far from me. I know what I have to do, and I know I love Utah. I have hobbies out here, and it's a beautiful place to live, and I'm not leaving. Nothing's going to scare me to leave, and if I do want to leave one day, yeah, I will, but until then, I'm here in Utah, and I love it. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city.
Are you working now?
I do work, yes. Okay. Yes, I mainly right now I do personal training, and I'm a writer. I'm actually working on a book, which should be...
On the case, or...?
My book is actually, it's an inspirational spiritual book, and it's called The Light Within the Tunnel. And basically, to the reader, I want to show that no matter what you're going through, there's a light within that tunnel that you could find positives. If it's a hard time, there's always positives. And me, I like to look back when I grew up in foster care. I grew up in the system. I didn't have a family growing up. And I did a lot of bad decisions, but now I look at the light. Looking back at that, I gained experience. I grew, and I became the man who I am today. And with that experience, I could take it and help others. And that's this light that I want to show everybody has, and everybody has the opportunity to change and to find the positive in their situation.
Do you feel like what's happened then is good, is just for what took place to JoJo and to yourself?
As far as him being murdered, I don't think that is just. JoJo deserved to have more life. He was a young man at 18 years old, and he like me was confused, but I saw a lot of good in JoJo, And I knew that if he found something that was right, that he would have changed and he would have pursued that. But he didn't have that yet because we were so young and involved in the things that we thought were right and fun and cool at the time. So no, what happened to JoJo wasn't just. And what happened to me, I can't say it was just, but I can say it has changed my life for the better.
What happened to Spencer today?
And what happened to Spencer, like I said, yes, that is just. He'll be doing 2 10 to lives. So he'll be a minimum of 20 years in prison. That gives him a considerable amount of time to think about what he has done and hopefully feel remorse. I mean, 20 years in prison, you're bound to feel some pain.
Elka, how are you? I mean, it's still not over yet, but
Still not over yet, but listening to Gregory and seeing how he has changed his life, it helps a lot. This has been a long battle, and dealing with Spencer has been hard, and it's a soul-searching process. It's so hard to, between good and evil, it's just a battle. But just looking at how Gregory has changed his life, it just makes me feel blessed, and I'm just grateful.
I know you've been frustrated that you've never gotten an apology from him. He offered one in court today. Do you think that was sincere? How are you feeling about what he said to you?
No, I don't think his apology is sincere. I don't think that you can apologize for something without acknowledging your role in it. And I have acknowledged that if I had been a better mother to JoJo, he would still be alive. And I have taken responsibility for my role, and I have to live with that pain every day. And the least he can do is, have remorse and take responsibility for his role in my son's death. Because JoJo was a beautiful person, a beautiful human being who did not deserve to die like that.
You came out with as much of a smile as you can have at this point, though. Pleased with the sentence today, or what are your thoughts on the sentence?
I'm pleased that Judge Barrett, the police department, the DA's office, and the judges have all done the best that they can do. And I'm pleased that they have looked at my son and Gregory not as gang members or thugs or drug dealers, but as human beings, and that they have done what they can to honor the life of these people, and some people in society might just look at them like, oh, they're gang members or they're drug dealers. Just, who cares if they die or get kidnapped? But the DA's office and the West Valley Police Department and Judge Barrett have said, you know what, they're people, and nobody has the right to take another person's life no matter what.
part of you feel for Spencer's mom?
Part of me does feel for her. It does, but I also feel like I feel for her because she's a mother, and I know she wants to see the best in her son. But I think she needs to also have her son take responsibility and for his own soul, to save his soul.